Happy Christmas season. So, did you know that there's a Hallmark cruise? Because there's a Hallmark cruise. Yeah, that's right. There's a Hallmark cruise scheduled to set sail on November 6, 2025. And I only found out about this news thanks to Evil Pinely. Of course, I'd really only write it for the bit. I can't really imagine the type of person who'd genuinely want to ride a Hallmark cruise, or even how many people would want to ride it in the first place. But apparently the answer is a lot of people, because it immediately sold out. Yeah, Evil Pinely truly lives up to his name, because what sort of man tells me about a cruise that I can't attend? Why would you tell me about this cruise, Evil Pinely, if I can't even go on? What sort of cruelty is this? But hot damn, I had no idea that Hallmark movies were that popular. I had only ever watched one or two in person because my ex's mom was super into them, and the only other time I absorb any semblance of Hallmark movie plots are when YouTubers make funny videos making fun of them. But there is a whole Hallmark fandom out there, people. A whole other world of fandom that operates different from you and I. They're not out here writing fan fiction or making fan cams or fan music videos. Instead, they're essentially going on a convention for their favorite IP out on the sea. Name one other fandom out there that has made a cruise for their special interest. Sorry, what I meant was name one other fandom that made a cruise for their special interest where the majority of members are below the age of 40? It turns out I am learning a lot by asking myself these questions. But jokes aside, that got me thinking. Have I just not watched enough Hallmark films to find the occasional good ones? Is there some magic to them that I'm simply not getting? I do, unfortunately, have the tendency to be a little snobby when it comes to the media I consume, annoyingly so for everyone around me. But it's the Christmas season, and what's not a joke is my love for Christmas. So my plan is to set aside my personal tastes and sense of pride and watch some Hallmark movies back to back until I finally feel my insides crack. Sorry, rhymes just feel appropriate for the Christmas season. Luckily for me, there was this list of Hallmark Christmas movies that Tumblr stole off of Instagram, so I'm going to see if I can watch all of these movies on this list in hopes to finally understand Hallmark as a whole, and while doing so, I hope to answer several questions such as, what is the appeal of Hallmark movies? What is the foolproof formula of a Hallmark movie? Are there any good Hallmark movies? Best case scenario, I finish this list and gain a newfound appreciation of Christmas Hallmark movies, and also a better sense of Christmas spirit. Worst case scenario, I maybe finish this list, but continue to see Hallmark movies in my dreams, and grow to believe that love isn't real, thus ending my 10-year partnership in a very messy divorce, and forcing myself to embrace incel culture, until I eventually choke on my own diet of drywall. Let's see which one it'll be, shall we? So let's test our Christmas spirit together and start with the very first Hallmark movie on our list, Christmas Under the Stars. This movie was released in 2019 and has a 71% on Rotten Tomatoes and a 6.7 on IMDb. Okay, doesn't seem too bad. Okay, so this movie is about Julie, a science teacher, and Nick, an investment broker? Insurance guy? I'm not quite sure what he is, but I do know that he's a man in finance. Trust fund. 6'5", blue eyes. Just kidding, his eyes are green. And Nick is played by the guy from John Tucker Must Die. I legit screamed when I saw his face on screen. So this is what he's doing now, huh? Yeah, props to him. Work's work. Now, obviously, Julie and Nick are fated to get together by the end of the Christmas movie, right? But they're not the only characters in this classic, okay? There's also Matt, Julie's son who is going through a tough time. There's Clem, the Christmas tree salesman who's known Julie since birth, who is also going through a tough time. And of course, don't forget, our main characters are also going through tough times. This being Hallmark and all, can you guess which one of these characters has a dead relative who constantly gets referenced in conversation throughout the movie? I'll give you 2 seconds to make your guess. Okay, 2 seconds are up. The answer is all of them. All of them have a deceased loved one that they're mourning. Matt is grieving the loss of his grandfather, aka Julie's dad, who was a huge encourager of both of their scientific curiosities, and of course, lover of Christmas. Nick, while it's not a fresh wound or anything, lost his mom as a kid, and as a result, never puts up trees during Christmas time anymore, because that was more of her thing.
I'm not the Christmas tree type.
There's a type?
And then Clem is grieving the loss of his wife, who was the co-owner of their Christmas tree business. And on top of that, around Christmas time is the anniversary of her death. Really heavy stuff. Not making fun of anyone who has deceased family members, obviously, but I just find it weird that all of them have deceased relatives that also have close ties to Christmas somehow. Like, come on, I think that's a little ridiculous. So we start with Julie speaking to her best friend, the vice principal character, who kind of seems like an idiot, not gonna lie.
Pumpkin pie, it attacks their attention muscles.
There is no such thing as an attention muscle.
You and your science.
Julie, you and your science degree, telling me that there's no attention muscle. I know there is one because I read it on Facebook. Unfortunately though, having been a science teacher, I can confirm that that's just kind of what it's like to talk to other adults in the field of education, parents and other teachers alike. I also have to say, a little bit of a weird choice to make one of the admin your friends. Maybe a political move? I guess it is always nice to have admin on your side. I'm winking at all of the baby teachers out there. Aside from that silly comment though, Julie brings up how she wants to take the kids on a star viewing field trip, so maybe it is a political move. I see you, Julie. Respect. Admin lady explains that budgets and permits might be an issue though, so Julie is left to wonder how she will solve that problem. Meanwhile, we get to see Nick's conflict. So the thing with Nick is he really is Finance Trust Fund 65 because he also has a dad who's well known in the world of finance. So everyone thinks Nick has it in the bag to get this promotion to become junior partner of his firm thanks to good old-fashioned American nepotism and name dropping. However, it turns out that Nick somehow fumbled a very important client, so instead of getting a promotion, he actually gets fired. Science teacher MC and punishing a nepo baby? Maybe I can get behind this Hallmark movie. Feeling so low to the point where Nick sadly considers selling his Porsche, he goes out for a walk when Clem spots him and notices how depressed he looks. And you want to know what Clem does to try to cheer Nick up? Offer him a job, of course.
I pay $1 over minimum, plus all the chocolate you could drink. Of course, you have to pay for the marshmallows.
Men don't need to talk about their problems. They just need to fucking work. Nick quickly accepts a job because, I'm not sure why, to be honest. I would think logically that Nick would start looking for another job in finance. I've worked with finance bros before and I can guarantee you this. None of them would waste your time with blue collar work barely above minimum wage. Especially a guy like Nick who seemed to have a pretty high position before he got cut and seems to have a superiority complex thanks to the success of his dad. But who knows? Maybe it's the influence of Christmas magic that compels him to do hard manual labor. Julie and Matt go to Clem's tree farm to look for a Christmas tree, and that's when our two main characters meet and give each other googly eyes despite having zero chemistry. See, look, even Matt is scared of Nick. Even he knows that their romance is a bad idea. Clem and Julie sit down together to drink some Hallmark hot cocoa, and that's when Clem asks Julie how she's doing and if she'd like to talk about it. Hey, wait a minute. That's not fair. He didn't offer to talk to Nick about his problems. What is this toxic masculinity mindset? Offer Julie a job too. Maybe doing some extra work will get her mind off of her dad's death. A new station comes to feature Clem on their channel, and that's when an EMT reveals to Nick Clem's conflict of losing his Christmas tree business. And I gotta admit, guys, at this point is when my memory of the movie gets a little bit fuzzy, because it was around this time my partner came back from work. So I asked him if he wanted to watch the movie with me.
You want to watch this Hallmark movie with me? The actor from John Tucker Must Die's in it.
Yeah, okay.
And to make things extra fun, we got some popcorn and decided to play a drinking bingo game. Specifically, we did this one from Reddit, and to be honest, we kind of got majorly fucked because we essentially drank one shot per minute since there were so many Hallmark cliches in this movie. However, what I do remember is that admin lady does end up finding the funds for Julie's stargazing field trip, but the money must be used before the end of the year, and Christmas is upon them fast. So Julie will have to figure out how to get the permits fast. Nick, while working for Clem, sees his old boss shopping for Christmas trees, and that just snaps him back to reality somehow, and he finally decides to start looking for other finance jobs again, and manages to clock an interview right before Christmas. They go to a Christmas tree lighting that doesn't really have much significance to the plot, except to make make Julie cry more about Stars because Stars killed her dad, okay? However, when Nick and Julie are finally having a tender moment, that's when Julie finally finds out about Nick's troubled past at a finance firm and discovers that the major client he worked with and fumbled is the one responsible for demanding significant medical debt repayment for her dad's time in the hospital. Yeah, I know, there's a lot of different conflicts in this movie, yet somehow none of them are that interesting. Anyway, Julie makes a big stink about it and breaks things off with Nick, which is kind of funny to me because he even tries explaining that he wasn't the one who made the medical debt deal with the client. He was just the guy who invested their money into various funds. He does not have a direct hand in the medical debt or the company's general practices at all. He is legitimately just a third party doing his job, but she takes very personal offense to it as if he is the one who sold the medical debt. So she leaves Nick and resolves her own conflict regarding the permits for the field trip. I won't go into details, it's not that interesting. Nick, wanting to atone for his sins, finds an eco-friendly business that he could potentially work for instead, and comes clean to his dad about getting fired. Clem has a brief health scare for a bit when he slips and falls and cuts his hand on some glass, but thank goodness by God's grace, he is fine. Nick and Julie team up one last time to surprise Clem with a cleaned up trailer and city park status, so that way Clem can continue to run his beloved Christmas tree business at the park. In addition, to make things up with Julie, Nick manages to sell her dad's medical debt to his new employer, who pays it all off for a tax break. The gesture's so moving that Julie falls for Nick all over again, and the two kiss with a level of zest that gave me the equivalence of 0 butterflies in my stomach. The movie overall was fine. At least I didn't feel physically ill while I watched it, but I'm not sure if I felt the Christmas magic from that one. So let's move on to the second one and see if it will change my opinion at all. Next on the list, we have Christmas on My Mind. Oh ho ho, a 6.5 on IMDb and no Rotten Tomatoes profile. We have a bit of a wild card here. This was strangely also released in 2019. How many Christmas movies does Hallmark release each year? They got good work ethic, I'll give them that. Okay, not gonna lie, this Hallmark movie wastes no time in the first half and is very drama. So our female MC, Lucy, in the opening, immediately slips on ice and gets diagnosed with that sweet retrograde amnesia and can't remember anything within the past 2 years. Because of that, she goes to her old hometown in Bedford Harbor and to the male MC's bar, whose name is Zach. The main character's name, not the bar's name. The thing is though, is that she thinks that they're still together and engaged. A conclusion she made when she saw the wedding dress that she was carrying when she slipped. But in reality, the two of them broke up within that 2-year gap that Lucy can't remember, making this extremely awkward, but also the exact cheese that I live for. Oh, and guess what? Yeah, they both have dead parents and bonded over that along with their love for Christmas. Again with the dead relatives. Is trauma bonding like the sexiest form of foreplay to boomers or something? Luckily, Zach isn't too shitty, so he lets Lucy know that they actually broke up. Except, what makes this super awkward is that Lucy is still so down bad for Zach. Girl really wants him even though she knows that they're not together. And she already has a different fiance named Brad.
How are you feeling?
They ask you how you are, you just have to say that you're fine when you're not really.
And Zach's dating a different girl named... Actually, I don't remember her name. She's barely important. But as you can see, a lot of drama, right? When I'm not invested in relationships, I'm such a sucker for messy love triangles. Give me something to be invested in, you know? There's also this best friend character named Anne, who's supposed to be like Lucy's best friend. And I swear, she was the most entertaining part of this movie because she was constantly giving attitude and feeding Lucy's amnesiac delusions.
Gosh, I can't believe Brad's here. I had nothing to do with it, I swear. What else did the doctor say? Just that I should do things that feel familiar? Then I'd say hanging out with Zach is doctor's orders.
She's loyal, I'll give her that, but you can tell that she's like a messy yes man best friend who just feeds into the drama. We've all had that friend before, right? They're a lot of fun, but they don't necessarily help us make the best decisions. And I will say, this movie really had me in the beginning because they made me think that Brad might have been a bad guy. There's this part in the beginning where he almost forgets to give Lucy back her phone after she had forgotten it at the bridal store.
Have a good night. Oh.
And it's the fact that Anne pushes Brad away and insists that she's going to be the one to look after Lucy for the night.
Down that way.
Actually, I think Lucy probably just needs a good night's sleep.
It's the fact that Lucy still had a picture of her and Zach hidden away in the drawer in her closet. It made me feel like, ooh, why are the girlies not feeling Brad? Is Brad possessive? Is he abusive? Is he toxic? Unfortunately though, the truth is less dramatic. So in an attempt to restore her memory, Lucy insists on staying over at Bedford Harbor so that she can be surrounded by the familiar things that might help jog her memory. A little gap in her logic in my opinion, because she could totally just hang around work, and that would most likely jog her memory, especially for a CEO like Lucy who spends most of her time at the office. Most of her memories are probably going to be at work. But you and I know what this is about. Anne definitely knows what this is about. This is just about Zach. So for the first half of the movie, Lucy really just spends a great amount of time pining over Zach. Look at this lip bite. Girl is not even trying to hide it. And the movie conveniently gives these two plenty of alone time, even though Lucy is here with Anne, by pairing Anne off with Zach's brother, and things are going relatively well for Zach and Lucy in terms of they're really hitting it off. These two definitely have more chemistry in my opinion compared to Nick and Julie from the previous movie, except Brad comes to Bedford because he's worried about Lucy, and that's also when we find out that Zach has a girlfriend, Walmart version Kristen Bell. Yay, hot chocolate break! And you know, you would think that this is when Lucy would start respecting boundaries, at least just a little more. But no, she's still pretty down bad and continues to make references to stealing Zach away, and also continues to complain about getting the ick from Brad. And Anne and Zach do not bat an eye at this. It's insane. I might just be too nosy. Let me know if you think I am. But I feel like if a close friend of mine was getting obsessive about their ex and kept leaving their fiance in the dust, I'd be urging them every day to just break things off with their fiance already. You clearly don't have any attachment to them. Don't give them any false hope. And yeah, I know that Lucy in this case had amnesia, but damn, Anne, what are we doing to stop her, dude?
Then I'd say hanging out with Zach is doctor's orders.
But what do you think you'd do in that situation? How would you choose to navigate or not navigate your best friend's love triangle as an outsider? Let me know in the comments below. But anyhow, the poor neglected partners eventually reached their limits at the pie eating contest, which is a crazy sentence already in itself. There's some sort of pie contest where you bake a pie and people bid on whichever pie they want, and I guess for whatever reason the girls, Lucy and Briston Kell, are expecting their respective boyfriends to choose their pies, otherwise it's not true love or something like that. And lo and behold, the guys end up choosing the wrong pies. Brad chooses Briston's pie, and Zach ends up choosing Lucy's pie, prompting both of them to go through breakups. A breakup over a pie you baked. In what world? But I digress. And it's after the breakup do we finally get some truth about Brad and Lucy's relationship. So the two of them actually just got into a relationship out of proximity because Brad is the CFO at Lucy's company, and they spent a lot of late nights working together. Brad genuinely loved Lucy and wanted to marry her, but despite her saying yes to the engagement, she didn't truly feel the same way. Honestly, she was just going through the motions of both her love life and work, but she had been shaken up by her breakup with Zach ever since. So I guess Brad really was innocent all along. I'm sorry, Brad. Seeing as how both parties are single again, the two attempt to talk things out at a Christmas festival. But that is when Lucy starts to get her memories back, because this horse carriage is the same place where the breakup occurred. See, the truth of the matter is that Lucy did not break up with Zach. Zach broke up with Lucy because he felt like he was holding her back because she was starting her art foundation nonprofit and he was just a humble bartender. He felt embarrassed, so he broke it off. Except that was a dumb beta move because they still loved each other and no one actually wanted that. Lucy gets really mad at this revelation that her brain revealed to herself and storms off, claiming that she'll never be back again. Except we both know that's not true. And of course, 15 minutes later in the movie, she comes back because she just can't help but love him. And he apologizes for omitting the truth and promises to never do that again, even though it appears to be a pattern in their relationship. And just like that, they become a couple again. The two of them kiss, and that is literally roll credits. We got the kiss shot, everyone go home. Okay, I know that this is only the second movie that we've watched, but I think I'm starting to detect a pattern here. Dead relatives, guys are awful communicators, movie ends with a kiss, big business bad, small local business good. But you know what? I did enjoy this one more than the previous one, so Hallmark hasn't broken me yet. Maybe it can get better from here. I can still watch more. So I should continue on the list. I think I have some faith that the movies will at least vary enough to keep me interested. Hopefully, right? If I keep watching, who knows? What if I find one that's actually really good? Oh my god, they're all starting to blend together. The drinking games were fun for a while, but by the first night, my partner and I got so sick of alcohol, so I can't even have that anymore. Then again, you're probably only meant to watch one Hallmark movie per game as opposed to watching, I don't know, 10 in a row. So it could very well just be a me problem. But let me give you brief summaries of the other 7 movies I watched. Movie number 3, Merry and Bright. Released in 2019, small business owner Kate has a failing candy cane business called Merry and Bright, because all they make are candy canes, which are only relevant 1 month out of the year. Big business consultant from Big City, Gabe, comes in to advise failing candy cane business. He is swept away by just how many Christmas traditions there are. Mom's alive? Dad is dead? Oh, no, just divorced and separated. Oh, okay, no dead relatives so far. Oh, fucking damn it. The grandma's dead. Gabe convinces Kate to diversify her stock. Baking sequence. They decide that they'll do chocolate and try to pitch this to bigger business guy.
12 seconds later.
Gabe introduces Kate to his mother at a house party, and in straight people land, if a man introduces a woman to his mother, it's a done deal, okay? I don't make the rules, ask the straights. That's why, straight woman, if you want to marry your man, you just gotta strong arm your way into his house and meet his mom at all costs. Even if he's begging you to not open the door. Don't open the door. They haven't opened a door in years. Oh my god, she's a lich. She's a fucking lich. What have you done? She's cursed the entire world. No! They're slow dancing at his house party when Gabe shows Kate his most prized possession, a painting of a Christmas tree next to a barn. The perfect visualization that shows the audience just what Hallmark is all about. And that's when they kiss. Nothing is sexier than Christmas. But wait, unlike other Hallmark movies, this movie doesn't end with just a kiss, because Kate and Gabe have an argument about making chocolate the main focus of the candy cane business, so their relationship status comes into question because candy canes are the cornerstone of Kate's life purpose. But bigger business guy decides that the other candy canes that Kate developed are actually better than the chocolate, so her business is saved. Yay! How exactly though? I don't know. It's still candy canes. It's not very diversified. You still only have a limited window where your stock is relevant, but whatever. Who am I to say I am not big business guy? Because of this, Gabe no longer has to be a traveling business consultant. He can just work at the candy cane factory with Kate, and he proposes, and they kiss, and that's it. We got the scene. Fade to black, roll credits. Number 4, Holiday Hearts. Released in 2019. Okay, I gotta admit, this was the least cliched Hallmark Christmas movie I had seen within the week. Don't get me wrong, still full of cliches, but just less cliched. None of the main characters' parents were dead, and neither of them came from big business. But did that make the movie any better? No. Woman is in charge of planning the town's big Christmas party, and man is scheduled to be stationed in Honduras for a Doctors Without Borders type program. But mutual friend tears his ACL and has to stay in the hospital, meaning man and woman have to take care of mutual friend's daughter. You get the usual babysitter trope shenanigans that you'd normally find in various fan fictions or essentially spy family, and they end up falling for each other despite having zero chemistry. This calls for hot cocoa. Woman, within 3 days of Christmas party, puts together a half-assed theme of just Christmas trees for what's supposed to be this annual party's magnum opus. But everyone just loves it for some reason. And man abandons his station in Honduras to stay with woman because screw the medical needs of brown people. I have a beautiful white woman waiting for me in Ohio. Haven't you heard that Ohio is for lovers? You absolute fool. They kiss, we got the scene, fade to black, roll credits, next movie. Number 5, Our Christmas Love Song. Released in 2019. Oh, what a surprise. Do you like the concept of A Star is Born but hate that Lady Gaga aligns herself with the gays? Does Bradley Cooper's depression and drinking problem in the movie just downright frustrate you, and you wish the movie had done without it, despite this movie having the same plot for every reiteration it makes? Do you wish more country singers would make more Christmas songs? If you said yes to all of these questions, then Our Christmas Love Song is the movie for you. Successful female singer returns to her hometown and bumps into old flame male singer. Can you guess what the female singer is named? I'll give you a hint. Think of the most on-the-nose name you could give a female singer. Did you make your guess? Her name is Melody. Isn't that funny? Get it? Because she makes melodies. So funny. It's so clever. Melody and love interest work together to organize a Christmas concert. Sparks fly. Melody decides to abandon Nashville to stay in her hometown with love interest. They kiss at the end of the concert, cut to black, roll credits. Also, Melody wears the same top as the female protagonist from Holiday Hearts. Really shows how Hallmark is is just cranking these bad boys out. Characters are just sharing wardrobe. Number 6, A Blue Ridge Mountain Christmas. Oh my god. What is my hair doing? What is my hair doing? Released in 2019. Ooh, that's different. Woman returns to her hometown to help her sister plan wedding, which she wants to have at the family inn that is no longer theirs, but instead belongs to man who is love interest. I should also note that I think the actor here is a terrible casting choice for a Hallmark love interest, because this man straight up looks nefarious in my opinion. I think it's his eyebrows. They make him look like a straight up villain anytime he scrunches up his face. Woman forces man to help her plan wedding, and during then there is some sort of attraction they feel for each other that they acknowledge verbally, but I never see on screen. And I am starting to wonder if people in small towns feel contractually obligated to marry any person of the opposite sex within their age range that they meet. In the end, the two of them decide to run the inn together, but not before 2 obligatory hot cocoa breaks. They kiss, fade to black, roll credits. Number 7, Angel Falls, A Novel Holiday, released in 2019. What a coincidence, that's my favorite year. Oh my god, as if these movies weren't already bad enough, this one I think had the least charismatic main characters I've ever seen in Hallmark films. Both characters are writers, except male character is successful and female character is not. So male character gives female character advice and encourages her to not give up on her writing career, albeit through a series of backhanded compliments. He has the chance to stay in New York for a huge career opportunity, but doesn't, so that way he can stay in small town with female character. Why are these people continuing to let their week-long crushes dictate their career decisions? It's insanity, man. There's hot cocoa, they kiss, pan out, fade to black, roll credits. Number 8, Nostalgic Christmas, released in 2019. Oh my god, how many movies did they make in 2019? This is crazy. Big businesswoman who makes toys returns to her small town to help small business dad when she meets single father love interest whose wife died in a freak accident or something. I don't know. At this point, why are so many characters dead? The 2 MCs are put in charge of this year's Christmas pageant, so as they work together, they begin to bond and feel that magical spark. Now, I don't know if it's because I watched 7 bad Hallmark movies back to back, and my brain was practically rotted at this point, but this movie was kind of refreshing. Compared to all the other Hallmark movies I had seen at this point, the actors actually felt more natural when delivering their lines and interacting with the world around them. And I felt like the characters actually had chemistry for once. Thank God. Now, if you're looking at this scene and think, but Sir Sugarmeat, these actors look like they're just having a conversation, you call that chemistry? To which I will say, yes, that is just how miserable this marathon has been. The 2 characters both have opportunities to leave the small town to pursue other career options, but both of them mutually decide to stay in a small town to give their love a chance. Yeah, we love mutual career wreckage as opposed to one-sided ones. There is a kiss, pan out, fade to black, roll credits, no hot cocoa break.
So no head?
Perhaps there is a negative correlation between the quality of the Hallmark movie and the number of hot cocoa breaks present, but I don't know for sure. I would have to continue watching more Hallmark films to confirm this theory. But I don't want to think about that right now. Let's move on to number 9. Time for you to come home for Christmas. What is this? Is this a threat? Is this my mom trying to communicate with me through Hallmark titles? Am I in a coma? What's going on here? Released in 2019, starring Alison Sweeney from Days of Our Lives. Yet, despite this movie having such a famous actress, they plunged back down in terms of quality for this movie. Alison Sweeney plays a working single mother who is recently widowed with a son who gives major I hate my bitch mom vibes.
25 reasons we're gonna have the best Christmas ever? Can I just go back to my room?
Do you ever feel like breaking down?
And the 2 are on their way to their old home in small town when they meet the mom's love interest. The son really loves the male love interest guy, and it becomes this whole awkward thing of the 2 main characters spending a lot of time together because the son is low-key the one pushing the relationship.
You know, Jack's really nice. Yeah, he is.
Male character is in the hometown to play in a band, but also to return a necklace to a guy who supposedly saved his life while he was serving in the military. And in the end, we find out that the guy who saved his life was actually Alison Sweeney's dead husband. So, with the 2 of them feeling like their fates were simply intertwined, they choose love at the Christmas concert and kiss. And the camera pans away, and we fade to black and roll credits. I couldn't test my hot cocoa theory during this movie because I was honest to God so bored that I think I started astroplaning to deep Brazil just to feel something. And number 10, Christmas in Rome, released in, you guessed it, 2019. Okay, now this one was actually a little bit of an outlier. As the title implies, the movie takes place in Rome, Italy, a far cry from the usual small town America that we normally find ourselves in. The movie follows female tour guide who gets fired from her job right at the start of the movie, essentially because she kind of has major ADHD and tends to literally lose her clients in the city or put them in danger during tours, which, like, no offense, bestie, but yeah, those are kind of firing grounds. You gotta find something else that better suits you or amp up the meds, either one of those. But she meets big business guy who at first I hated because he seemed like a typical finance bro. But you know what? He actually gets better throughout the movie. And while I'm not gonna say that the actors themselves had major chemistry together, the romance was at least present. They tried a little harder with the script, I want to say. There were plenty of romantic dates and grand gestures that are romantic in theory, but just not framed well with the limited direction and cinematography of Hallmark. Oh, I should also note another thing that's off is that the characters drink lots of hot cocoa in this movie, which goes against my original theory of more hot chocolate equating to a less interesting movie. But anyway, big business guy is here in Italy to try to seal some sort of business deal, but because he is very American, he doesn't understand the cultural differences that could potentially break the deal. So female character becomes his personal tour guide to ensure that he doesn't accidentally offend his Italian business partner. Of course, as they work together, they eventually fall for each other, and they do a better job too at building suspense and creating a more natural relationship in this movie. Both of them have very realistic trepidations at first with pursuing this relationship, especially since they both travel for work. And at first, they're both fine with just leaving this as is, as a fun fling to remember. But once they separate, they both realize that they do actually want to be together. So she meets him in America and immediately finds him in the spot where her parents met, in the one picture she has to remember them by, because they both passed away. Of course they did. Of course they both passed away. But still, isn't that romantic? They're doing what her parents did. Oh my god. I know, it's still ridiculous, but at least this gesture was more personal and climatic compared to the way the other Hallmark movies typically end, with one of the characters just appearing from behind a set piece and being like, hey, I'm here now, we can have a happy ending and kiss, and then they do. I know, the bar is set so low, but I think these movies are breaking me. They're doing something to me. I can feel it inside my head. They're smoothing out my brain wrinkles. Okay, maybe I'm exaggerating. But watching these movies back to back is definitely doing something to me, like psychologically. I went out for breakfast the other day and I couldn't help but notice the Christmas decorations they put up at my local cafe, and I felt like I was in some sort of Hallmark alternate reality. The thing is though, it's freaking December, so of course businesses are going to have Christmas decorations up, and yet despite knowing this, I couldn't help but feel like my hometown ex was going to bump into me and make me spill my peppermint latte all over myself, and we would stare into each other's eyes for a prolonged period of time before he eventually invites me to a tree lighting ceremony and breaks the news that his mom finally succumbed to the illness. Which illness, you ask? It doesn't matter when it comes to true love, silly Nilly. I am ready to be put out of my misery. But Neopets didn't raise a quitter. There are only 5 more movies on that original list that I showed you guys, but to be honest, I actually think that there is more variety and quality in these Hallmark movies than I originally thought. And I'm starting to think that watching this list isn't enough. Maybe I have to go beyond the scope of 2019 Hallmark movies, which, you know, wasn't my original intention to only watch 2019 Hallmark movies, but I realize now that these movies that this person compiled into this list are probably just a 2019 collection or something. I have to see what the other more diverse Hallmark movies look like. I have to know if they've improved over time or if Hallmark movies that break out of the typical Hallmark formula are any better. I have to find out what a good Hallmark movie looks like, if there is one. I need to find out the truth. Does a good Hallmark movie exist? Or am I just going to drive myself insane trying to find one? Hey there. Hi. I've calmed down now. Manic me is gone. You can rest easy. I just wanted to say, I think I get it now, and I'd like to share my findings with all of you. Should we move to a more familiar spot? That's better. Oh, here, I made one for you too. I even toasted the marshmallows on my stove. You're welcome. drink it all. Drink it. Since we spoke, I have watched 20 more Hallmark movies. That's approximately 30 more hours of Hallmark content. If I add it with the original 10 Hallmark movies that I watched, that totals to about 45 hours of Hallmark cinema, or approximately 2 full days of watching Hallmark movies non-stop. I am exhausted, but full of Christmas spirit. And full of hot chocolate. Oh god, that's probably a line from a Hallmark movie. My brain is no longer mine. It belongs to Hallmark Media. I watched the rest of the 2019 collection. They were fine. The same small fluctuations in quality that I found in the first 10 2019 movies. I think my favorite out of that collection was Christmas in Rome, with Christmas on my mind coming in as a close second just because I love the unnecessary drama. But then I moved on to Hallmark movies released in different years. Some with gay characters, some that involved a more ethnically diverse cast, and some movies that were the highest rated amongst Hallmark's entire collection, both by critics and long-standing Hallmark fans. Plus, I watched Love Classified, which wasn't a holiday movie whatsoever. It was just one of Hallmark's normal movies, but I guess at that point I had been so brain-rotted that I really didn't notice it wasn't a Christmas movie until the very end.
Where were the Christmas trees?
I could have watched more, honestly, because over time, it kind of just became fascinating to me to see Hallmark's evolution. But I do want to make sure I get this video out before Christmas time, and more importantly, I feared if I continued watching, my vocabulary would be permanently altered to be akin to that of a suburban Disney adult.
We met in a coffee shop. I was the barista.
He was le customer.
And of course, my barista name was Senorita Awesome.
So I'm stopping myself here before I get too lost in the sauce. So let's talk about my findings. Now, are all Hallmark movies bad? No, actually. And that was the surprising part. I was expecting most Hallmark movies to be bad good, kind of like The Room.
I can. Anyway, how is your sex life?
But instead, I think the worst Hallmark movies are the ones that are just boring, usually because they over-rely on Hallmark tropes and bring absolutely nothing new to the table. These ones tend to have drawn-out dialogue scenes where the main characters talk about their sugar cookie cutter backgrounds of having probably deceased parent, but not letting that get in the way of their love for Christmas or their family. And because the two main characters are at least average looking and bold enough to share maybe 2 fun facts about their past, it's enough to spark a strong romantic connection. Yeah, I think that type of shit is what led to the 50% divorce rate amongst boomers. I should note that I did watch some of the lowest rated Hallmark movies as well, and those ones were hated because they often contained some sort of Christmas miracle that was high-key offensive. For example, in the movie Christmas Bedtime Stories, the miracle that happens at the end is that the military dad, whom everyone believed to be dead because he had been missing for like years, turned out to just be a prisoner of war, and in the end he somehow manages to escape and return home to his family completely unscathed. Like, he is completely fit and psychologically unaffected, which I hear is so not the majority prisoner of war experience. And on top of that, it completely invalidates the journey the widow main character goes on in order to process her grief, which I felt like could have been such an important lesson since grief is such a hard emotion to deal with. Yeah, the conservative veteran families of the Hallmark fandom did not like that one, and I gotta agree with them. On the other hand, amongst the lowest rated Hallmark films, you also have Christmas with a View, which is honestly low rated because it's so boring and the forced romance is very uncomfy. But if any of you guys have ever worked in the food industry, you might get a kick out of how these background actors portray working in a high-end restaurant. That being said, after watching so many Hallmark movies, I believe that the key to enjoying them is to treat them like Disney Channel original movies. Because that's essentially what they are, but for more boring adults who really love Christmas. You don't really watch them for the actual plot of the movie, but you do watch it for the vibes, you know? Just something to put on in the background while you wrap your gifts or play a low-stakes mobile game, just to add even more cozy factor to your night. However, I will say I actually did manage to find some movies that I genuinely liked. Surprising, right? Were they good? I want to say yes, mildly. As good as Christmas movies get. Nothing great on its own. None of these movies are going to get an Oscar nomination. And at the same time, I don't know if I think this because so many others were just so bad in comparison. But a movie that I personally liked a lot and that gets a lot of praise amongst the Hallmark fandom was Round and Round. A Groundhog Day type movie where the protagonist continues to to relive the 7th day of Hanukkah over and over again until she can figure out what is causing the time loop. I'm not going to spoil this one because I think for people who want to at least try watching a Hallmark holiday film, even if it's not a stereotypical one, should probably try this one because it was a lot of fun. I will warn you though that there is a lot of cringy dialogue because some of the characters in this movie are supposed to be the nerdy type, so you get some Big Bang Theory Bazinga-esque scenes.
I'm fairly certain I'm stuck in a time loop.
You know, you could just ask me if I'm single.
But hey, it's Hallmark. You gotta expect a feast of cringe and cheese, okay? And that's just one of the movies I liked. Here are some others that I liked that I will display on screen right now. You better not be judging me. I do feel like a majority of the ones that I liked broke out of the typical Hallmark formula, and I guess that's just a reflection of my personal taste. 2023 was particularly a great year for this. Hallmark produced a lot of out-of-the-box movies during this year, and I do think a lot of Hallmark fans agree, though there does seem to be some divide in the fandom. I will talk about that in a moment, but please do try one of these out and let me know what you think, so that way I can confirm if my like is justified or if I have truly rotted my brain from watching this content. I don't know which it is. Now, if you had a set preconceived notion of Hallmark like me, you might be surprised to hear that they're breaking out of the typical Hallmark formula. And I believe, based on the research I've been doing on Hallmark, this is because of the departure of Bill Abbott as CEO of the Hallmark Channel. If you didn't know, Bill Abbott was the CEO of Hallmark Media from 2009 up until 2020. And the reason he left is because he censored an ad on their network featuring a lesbian couple. The whole situation was kind of sticky. The network aired the ad at first and then received backlash from their conservative audience for airing it, so then they pulled the ad and received even more backlash for censoring it. I mean, understandably so. There was literally nothing going on in this commercial except for two lesbians existing at their wedding. And Bill just did not handle this controversy well, so he eventually stepped down. Perhaps pulling the ad was just a little more than reacting to the conservative backlash though, because Bill Abbott did go on to become the CEO of Great American Media, which is the even more conservative and even lower quality version of Hallmark, if you can believe that. But I feel like ever since his departure, Hallmark has been making more of a concerted effort to include more diversity in their movies. I mean, in 2020 is when they released The Christmas House, the very first Hallmark movie to prominently feature a gay couple. Post-2020, I feel like, is also when we began to see more movies featuring more ethnically diverse leads. During this 2-week Hallmark binge, I feel like pre-2020 movies limited their POC characters to just being like the sidekick or the best friend or the coworker that the protagonist goes to for advice. Or even if they don't get a major role like that, they are limited to the background and have maybe one line of dialogue. Of course though, I say this as a person who has only been consuming Hallmark movies for the past 2 weeks. I'm sure people who have been watching Hallmark their entire lifetime have more knowledge on this than me. On top of added inclusivity, post-2020 Hallmark movies more than ever before are trying to break out of the typical Hallmark plot formula, featuring more unconventional plot lines, or including more fun friendship and family shenanigans, aside from your usual romance slop. And because of this change, I feel like the Hallmark fandom is kind of split into two distinct groups: the pre-2020 fans and the post-2020 fans. Pre-2020 fans tend to love the vibes of Hallmark movies. They love the more genuine Christmas setting, they love the romance, the trad-core beauty of this era of actors, the lack of heaviness and simplicity of the plots. They love that they can just turn their brain off while they watch these movies and just be spoon-fed some good vibes. And nothing wrong with that. I get it. After working long days, I don't blame people for wanting to watch media that helps them decompress. I'm pretty snobbish about the things I watch, but I can definitely feel that for the music I listen to. Post-2020 fans, on the other hand, love the new direction that Hallmark is taking. They love that the movies are trying to be more out of the box. They love the new gimmicks. They love the added diversity. It's interesting for them. I found that when people are asked what their favorite Hallmark movie is, I feel like post-2020 fans are able to list specific movies more often, versus pre-2020 fans usually don't have such strong favorites. It all kind of blends together for them, and they just know that they love that era. And I think it speaks to their taste and what they look for in Hallmark movies. Though, not to say you have to be one or the other, or even that all fans act that way. There are plenty of people who love both eras, but just want to note some of the patterns I've seen with fans of the older movies versus fans of the newer movies. I know I personally fall more on the post-2020 camp because those movies are more interesting to me, but I can see the appeal of the pre-2020 era. Because I will agree with pre-2020 era fans, that era of Hallmark movies had more of the Christmas spirit feel compared to the newer ones. And I do believe it's because the older Hallmark films really play into the nostalgia factor and have more of that 90s/2000s cheese that classic Christmas is so strongly associated with. So you have a higher chance of being filled with Christmas spirit in a pre-2020 film, whereas if you watch a post-2020 era film, I personally think you have a higher chance of being entertained. But that's just my opinion. I feel like a good litmus test to see if someone is a pre-2020 versus a post-2020 Hallmark fan is their reaction to Christmas on Cherry Lane. Christmas on Cherry Lane was a movie that was released in 2023, and it follows 3 different storylines of 3 different families living in the same house, but in 3 different time periods: 1973, 1998, and then present day 2023. It's the same familial love Hallmark cheese, but just told through non-linear storytelling. And at the end of the movie, they tie the 3 plot lines together and do some character reveals to show how all 3 family stories are interwoven. But it's not exactly a major twist. I mean, they show the house in the 3 different time periods at the start of the movie with the years spelled out for you, so that way you know for sure that there are 3 separate timelines occurring. It's easy to follow in my opinion. I was able to follow the plot while I was preoccupied with my phone the entire time. However, a lot of pre-2020 fans did not like this film. The non-linear storytelling was too confusing for many of them. I saw people complain about how they had to make some sort of timeline to track the different plot lines and that it detracted from their experience, whereas post-2020 fans thought the gimmick was cool and had a fun time making connections. Now, aside from the cool gimmick, the movie itself was just okay. Some of the characters can be a little annoying. Jonathan Bennett tends to overreact, so I understand if someone has that sort of critique against a movie. But I found that this particular film was very polarizing amongst the Hallmark fandom, and I just thought it was an interesting case study. On the other hand, a film that I think both pre-2020 and post-2020 Hallmark fans could enjoy together, and one that I'd also recommend, is A Biltmore Christmas. This was another film from the 2023 collection. 2023 was just such a good year. And I was pretty surprised with how they managed to make a film that could feel so nostalgic, yet also new. It's predictable, don't get me wrong, but it has enough departure from the Hallmark formula that it feels fresh. Yet it still has some Hallmark staples like a Christmas tree lighting ceremony, a slow dance, and of course a Christmas romance. So if you want to try a Hallmark film that's good, but still actually feels like a Christmas Hallmark film, I'd recommend this one honestly. I think it's currently the highest rated holiday film Hallmark has ever produced, if that's any more incentive to try watching it. Now, aside from plot lines, another interesting thing I learned about Hallmark movies that I didn't know before is that Hallmark movies tend to use the same actors over and over again. There are some fan favorites like Lacey Chabert or Tyler Hynes. Oh my god, do the Hallmark girlies love Tyler Hynes for some reason. Yeah, I don't think I developed a favorite while watching these movies, which is, I think, something you're supposed to do when you're in the Hallmark fandom, but I don't think any of these people are my type. Also, I'm ace, so it's just hard to judge off of looks. But hey, that just means more Tyler Hynes for the Hallmark girlies and gays. Have at ye. Okay, other than that, I also want to say, I find it so incredibly strange just how loyal Hallmark fans are. Because Hallmark, in my opinion, gives such shitty products. And I'm not just talking about the movies. I signed up for a free trial of Hallmark Plus so that way I could watch the movies without lag because the other method I was using had a lot of lag. And what I very much dislike about Hallmark Plus is that they don't even have their most recent movies on there. Like, there are new movies being released right now for the 2024 Christmas Marathon, and it's not on their own streaming service. What the hell? I feel like they did this on purpose, but they also do not include any of their lowest rated movies on their streaming service. Anything that was 30% or lower on Rotten Tomatoes was non-existent on their site, so I had to find them elsewhere to watch it. Don't be a coward, Hallmark. Own up to your mistakes. I also watched another lady review the 2024 Hallmark cruise, and she said it was a bad time for what she paid for, and a lot of other Hallmark fans who attended the cruise agreed, and were echoing her critiques. Yet still, the 2025 cruise sold out. And on top of that, it sold out before some people's pre-sale links opened up. That's messed up. If that were me, I'd be pissed off. In one of Drew Gooden's latest videos, I also saw that a Hallmark fan had ordered some Hallmark wine and didn't receive their order. So what they did to get back at Hallmark is order more Hallmark wine? In Drew Gooden's words.
That'll show them, Ron. Just keep giving them more money. They'll learn their lesson eventually.
So yeah, I guess if there was anything I had to criticize Hallmark for, it would be their lack of quality in service and products. I totally understand the bad movie thing now. One last thing I was disappointed to hear about, because 2023 was such a great year for Hallmark films, but from what I've been hearing, 2024 has not been good at all, and they're releasing 32 Christmas movies this year. They're really just taking this quantity over quality approach, except for the Taylor Swift Christmas movie. I think that's the only one that should stay. I'm sure it was a perfectly fine and good movie, and probably the best movie to come out of that 2024 collection. And I can't wait to watch it once I get my grimy little hands on it. But anyway, disorganized ranting aside, guys, that was my journey with Hallmark holiday movies. After approximately 45 hours of hot cocoa consumption and Christmas tree lighting ceremony compilations, I will say that I understand now. I get the appeal. Hell, next year I might even rewatch some of my favorites. I might just add Christmas in Rome or Round and Round to my Christmas movie roster. As I said, I really love Christmas. Yeah, Round and Round is a movie about Hanukkah, but I don't care. It's the holiday season. Anything festive, I'm watching it during Christmas time. And I do think that Hallmark is here to stay. They're just known as the holiday people, you know? They were the ones who invented modern day wrapping paper after all. Yeah, that was Hallmark. And also they apparently own Crayola and make like 3 to 4 billion in revenue every year. So they are just much bigger than the C-tier card making company I thought they were prior to this. Sorry, I know. Lots of random tidbits. I learned a lot on this journey. Anyhow, are you a watcher of Hallmark films? Do you have a favorite Hallmark movie? Do you think you'd watch one after witnessing my journey? Please do let me know in the comments below. And I hope you all have a very merry holiday season, whether it's Christmas, a different holiday, or none at all. I'm wishing you the most comfortable post-dinner food coma nap in 2024. And I'll see you in 2025. Thank you to my regular viewers who have helped make this such an amazing year. And if you just got here, thank you for watching as well. Okay, I gotta cancel my Hallmark Plus subscription before it's too late. I'll see you next time. Bye.